Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Marketing Automation for Law Firms. I'm your moderator, Drishti, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Caroline Schmidt, VP, Demand Generation Practice at edynamic. Law firms have traditionally failed to embrace the values of marketing automation and relied on traditional single-channel platforms. For those firms that are willing to take a closer look, marketing automation can not only help save time and money, it can also increase the book of business of current clients and help convert prospects to new clients. In today's presentation, we'll hear Caroline talk about how you can expand and enhance your current marketing roadmap for your law firm. We'll also have a question and answer session at the end. So please send us your questions and we'll make sure to answer them immediately in real time. And now over to you, Caroline.
Starting to leverage multi-channel digital strategy. As mentioned by Drishti before, there's a lag in movement for law firms to add marketing automation tools to their marketing technology stack. Most of the ones I deal with are using ESPs today, and while that can be a fairly effective tool for email, just want to make sure, okay. It can be a really effective platform for sending email. They lack some of the capabilities that can elevate your digital communications. Marketing automation tools with all of their capabilities can really help firms do that. So in fact, if we look at the top 8 digital trends for law firms in 2017, I'll point out 5 of those specific trends that marketing automation can help support, and then the other 3, there's different ways that it can tie in and help elevate those as well. In addition, I'll also cover some specific use cases for marketing automation and how it can support firms with event management, subscriptions, re-engagement, and promotion of thought leadership. So for those that are new to marketing automation, I'll also talk about what you should consider when adding it to your technology stack and your roadmap. And I'll finish with the steps that you can take for evaluating and setting up marketing automation within your firm. And even if you do have marketing automation today, maybe what are some of the takeaways that you can take with you to help you advance the maturity of the marketing automation that you're using. So in the current environment, this is really, I guess, apropos as we're all walking, talking mobile device, as it were. Firms are really having to evolve their digital presence. And what we've seen from an evolution perspective is firms that are evolving across the web and, you know, SEO, some of those portions of it, but really we haven't seen a huge evolution when it comes to leveraging some of the other technology stacks. So, you know, digital presence was once nice to have, but now it's an extension of your firm's branding, and it's critical for competition in the legal space today. You know, as you look at what's going on in legal, flat growth, increased competition, and diminished opportunities, clients are really demanding more value for their legal spend. And since it's now, you know, was once a seller's market, it's now a buyer's market, where clients are using non-traditional service providers for a wide variety of services they previously obtained for law firms. So clients are really more likely to retain work in-house today and bring in their outside counsel only where needed. So most of the firms that I work with are really looking at a couple different things that have to do as we look at marketing automation in their entire digital evolution. They're looking at targeting goals that are centered around supporting their current clients' needs while growing their share with those clients. So cross-selling, upselling those pieces of the pie and really expanding their business with their current clients. And then looking at new customers or new opportunities and advancing the brand and creating a cohesive experience across their client interactions with the firm. So those are two of some of the primary goals that I've seen in 2017 for law firms. I think some of the very powerful metrics when we look at building our digital capabilities, again, I think a lot of firms take it from a website as brand. Yes, it's a brand, but legal clients now engage with firms not only face-to-face or directly with the attorney. They're interacting with a firm in a variety of different digital channels across their entire customer journey. So while interaction with a firm is extremely valuable, so much of what your client does today is interlaced with your firm's digital experience. So these are just a few stats that kind of really stand out to me. So 96% of people use search engines when looking for legal advice. It's a pretty high bar there. 74% of your potential clients will engage with your website before they decide to take action. So that really tells you how powerful that is. And then legal marketers are seeing the benefits of investing in content and email based on it and the e-consultancy survey. So it's a survey that came out last year. They really see the power of content and the power of email is kind of their two most effective channels and the things that they can directly influence customers with today. And this is where, the client-first digital strategy is key. So, really having that strategy to interface with your client. I think all of us know that clients have learned to tune out marketing and messages, especially if you're conditioned by, massive amounts of email, massive amounts of communication, banner imagery, everything, social messaging. I think there's a famous quote that says, "Half of my marketing doesn't work. I just don't know which half." That's rung through, television, radio, now print and digital. We have the same problem within digital. So our consumer-first culture has demanded that marketing treat the customer experience as paramount in everything that we do. Like it or not, clients really don't care that you're in an industry that has maybe a one-and-done model or hasn't matured digitally. All they see is the communications that you're doing with them as scattershot and ineffective. And with the tools that are available to us in the MarTech Tech, we can begin to advance maturity and put the client first. As I mentioned before, the things that are available for marketers to advance their digital strategies, we look at some of the key digital trends for 2017 in specifically the legal industry. And this can give us clues on what we can prioritize and what other firms are doing and what's becoming important based on what people are seeing in the marketplace, what they're getting return on investment for. So I think, some of the ones that I mentioned, and maybe not as focused on here in this conversation, but just to give you a balanced view of what's going on in the marketplace. So definitely a focus on social media conversions, so conversions of new business, getting targets and clients downloading ebooks, registering for webinars, doing things within their social properties. A high importance on SEO. I think Law 100 firms are for the first time starting to focus more of their efforts on SEO, so it's become really important. And of course, mobile. You can't talk to somebody. Someone's on a mobile, tablet, their laptop. It's important, and it's directionally what we do across all of our channels that we make sure that we keep mobile in mind. But the things that I want to, highlight here and focus on is the value of marketing automation. So really, one of the key trends for 2017 that has been defined is the value of marketing automation and how it's emerging within the space. So, we'll definitely talk in great detail about that, but some of the other things and other digital trends that are occurring that can be supported by marketing automation is customized practice strategies. So avoiding the one-size-fits-all approach. Each practice group within a firm has its unique set of challenges and opportunities, and making sure that your communications are targeting those specific challenges and what those clients need within that practice group. Multi-channel marketing, we can't get away from this. We have to have a consistent experience and look at developing a consistent experience for our clients across every touch point. Everything that they should touch should really align back to both your brand and your core messaging at heart. And we'll talk more about how marketing automation can help do that. Intelligent content, and what I mean by that is content that's structurally rich and systematically categorized and therefore automatically discoverable, reusable, reconfigurable, and adaptable. That means that our content is tailored for our subject and we give it to them when they want it. So if you create a piece of thought leadership, that means being able to both reuse it, recycle it, and make it discoverable in a variety of different channels and mediums to your clients. And then actionable insights and ROI. So getting meaning out of your data and providing better ways to engage and get added value from your clients and prospects through your tracking and monitoring. All right, I'm just going to pause for a minute. Any questions that popped up? Okay, hopefully we didn't drive everyone off with the 5 minutes of silence at the beginning. All right, so as I discussed before, marketing automation is really emerging in the legal space. So companies like Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and EY are big users of marketing automation platforms, and it helps them enhance their engagement with both their prospects and clients, and we'll be talking more about that. And as expressed here by Nick Andrew, one of our Holden Levels, used to work for Holden Levels, marketing automation can be a central hub and spoke for your client journey. It allows you to increase engagement with known prospects and clients, to nurture them throughout their interactions with your firm. And through ongoing communications and customizing segmented paths across email, landing page, SMS, social, whatever channel they engage with you, really providing that customized path. It can also provide insight and automation for your content and tracking of how your clients are engaging with your firm. Really looking at what's working, what's not working, where marketing and business development should invest their time. And I think very specifically, ultimately, law firms are their reputation, and marketing automation connects you with clients and helps you build your practices through reputation and expansion of services. All of the marketing automation techniques that I talk about here can help you build trust with clients, display legal knowledge, and prove its success by tracking and understanding how someone is engaging with your firm. You can tailor your communications to their interest. Why really send a generic alert or newsletter on the same topic to everyone? Clients don't all engage with your firm in the same way. It should really be customized. The second here, reach out to your clients where they are with their preferred communication. Marketing automation has the capability to expand your preference center and tailor communications based on what they want. If a client prefers email, okay, let's send communications through email. If they prefer events and face-to-face time, then a newsletter would be wasted on them, and it could honestly annoy them with all the different communications they receive. They really feel like you don't understand them as a client. The nurture clients through automatically personalized campaigns. So you really want to cater to their personal needs. If a prospect is researching your cybersecurity practice, why would you send them communications on family law? It's really, what I've seen a lot of within law is different subscription preference management, just to help kind of tailor and do that. Whereas with marketing automation, you can take that subscription from individualized list into a system that allows you to target precisely what someone is interested in, both in what they've told you and what they've shown through their activity, either on your website, with your emails, with your content, when they engage with your business development, depending on what data you have available to you. So really you can anticipate what they like based on similar content that they've looked at, or even if you collect those preferences, you can start to tailor that content and make sure it's very customized to them. And, measuring, all of us want to have the capability to better measure your campaigns and branding efforts. So really, you can start tracking the value of your communications. Email opens and clicks are really great, but they are simply a snapshot in time. You want to see what your client has engaged with over time or test the ROI of activities your firm is working on. I think at a high level, marketers see the benefits of marketing automation in a variety of different ways. I think these are based on a survey by B2B marketers worldwide, some of the top ones that I think they align very nicely with what this does within the legal space is improve lead management, measurable results, enhanced targeting and personalization, and seamless campaign and execution tracking. So all things that we can relate to what we can do within the legal space. And I think more specifically how it can benefit firms is it can reduce costs by automating ongoing processes. So really automation frees up your time to concentrate on strategy and activities that provide high value, not repetitive, monotonous tasks. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're not really getting value out of your time. And marketing automation allows you to automate those processes so you can definitely get more of that time back. Improve reach and productivity by positioning lawyers as thought leaders in their practice area. So marketing automation can help by promoting your lawyers and their content. It's not a one and done approach, so a lot of times you may send out a piece of thought leadership or an alert that has content on it, but really using marketing automation, you can start to highlight content in various channels and really look at content that has high value and make sure that it's reusable. It's engaging with people that may not have engaged with you before, even though it was sent 2 to 3 months ago. So really making sure you get the most out of both your content and your lawyer's time from producing that content. Building a client journey that improves customer satisfaction. So again, the more client-centric and personalized your communication, the higher your customer satisfaction and your conversions. Allowing a law firm to stay top of mind by effectively automating and distributing content. So being able to distribute content in real time as someone downloads an asset is very powerful, or if someone has shown interest in a particular topic. So if I download something that's specific to a practice area or an industry, I can follow that up with other pieces of content that are aligned with that, whether through email, through landing pages, or your website or other channels. It's pretty powerful to do that. And then helps firms provide targeted communications across channels. So treating your practice communications independently, but also looking for ways to start integrating cohesive cross-channel messaging that makes sense. So being able to target cross-channel messaging and really looking at seeing and how it's resonating. And if it doesn't resonate, then maybe there's other connections that make sense and that doesn't make sense, but looking for those opportunities. And I think most of us, when we think of marketing automation, it's obviously closely associated with email, but and that's just based on how automation was initially developed. But really, marketing automation at its fundamental core is not just emails. It allows you to create custom flows for your clients, custom automation components, nurture paths, and you can start integrating that content into that automation throughout channels. So not only is it email, it can be SMS, direct mail, social, or online, just based on the capabilities that a tool has. And the best marketing automation campaigns combine multiple channels for a more effective message. So as we mentioned before, you want to make sure that if someone wants to engage with you in a particular way, that you're addressing that and you're communicating with them, not just in email, but in various ways. So as I mentioned before, a lot of firms still have an email service provider and they're using email, and some have converted over to marketing automation, some have not, some have but haven't seen the value. And I think ultimately, and this is not just across the legal space, this is across all verticals that I've worked with, and I think according to some high level, most users of marketing automation are not using it to its fullest extent. So I think that's always one concern when you're looking to convert from an email service provider to marketing automation, that you're not just simply looking at it as a replacement email tool. So, in order to highlight the difference there, I just wanted to point out that, email marketing platforms are great. They help you communicate with clients, but really at its core, usually they're a one-size-fits-all approach. They're a very broad message. A lot of times you have to maintain separate mailing and subscription lists in order to segment your content. You have a view of a particular communication, but it's broad. It only tells you the effectiveness of that communication, not the communication of your firm to an individual, and what that looks like over time. So really, it's just a moment in time. It's not looking at the entire customer lifecycle. And if we look at how marketing automation differs, it can provide the capability to have that one-to-one marketing with custom content, the capability to automatically segment and maintain multiple segments. And it isn't just for email. It can be broader based on the functionality of the tools you're using. You can also use alternative pathing, which we'll talk about, but within the nurture cycle, you can use triggered communications or event communications based off of whether, what someone is doing in real time. So if I download something, I can send a follow-up email immediately instead of wait for a scheduled email to go out at some particular time. This is extremely effective when it comes to event marketing. So, following up immediately with an RSVP, event details, event reminders, attendance, and follow-up post-event. So it can really help look at the entire event life cycle and help with that. As I mentioned before, and I just touched on this briefly, so it can help you align across channels. So what we said before about helping you segment and having a consistent message across all of your channels, it can provide that ability to automate that segmentation. It can also help you utilize a more robust subscription and data management process. So you can manage subscribers and their preferred methods of communication and make sure that you provide that based on what they've provided you. Schedule social postings. So there are some marketing automation tools that allow you to do social postings. As I mentioned before with events, you can queue out postings on Twitter or Facebook that align with certain time frames. If you have content that's going out via email or content that's going out about an event or any communication really, you can queue, schedule, and repeat posts as necessary within social properties. Also, email fundamental component of marketing automation, but some of them also provide SMS. So you can create automated client journeys for your subscribers across both email and SMS. The other thing is automating the client journey. I think the one thing I do want to point out with making sure you have a consistent cross-channel experience is the integration of the website. It can be extremely valuable in orchestrating a multi-channel experience. In many instances, a customer may do initial research with your website and then not take any further action. And with marketing automation systems, they can be placed into a nurture campaign, which you would periodically send interesting content to stimulate further interaction. So yes, they're consistent probably lists that your lawyers are providing you, and they may align with events, but when it comes to ongoing communications or distribution of thought leadership, if somebody's shown an interest in a particular thing on your website, the next time or the next time you have a valuable piece of content that can go out, you can definitely provide that to them, or even as a post follow-up for their visit, you can do that as well. If you look at the website plus marketing automation, I think, obviously a concern of most people when they're looking at integration between those tool sets is really how do you manage the entire life cycle. So if you have an integration between your website and marketing automation, you can create an environment that focuses on identifying and targeting specific journeys and use cases. It can also help you have relevant personalized content across both, as probably your two primary channels that you're using today. Your message is consistent and it's seamless between the two, so you don't have a disjointed experience between both of them. And then, as I mentioned before, cross-sell, being able to target if somebody's interested not only in the practice that they're doing business with you in, but maybe they visited other pages on your site, and being able to follow that up with other communications, not just waiting for them to engage with your website, is pretty powerful. And this is just an example of orchestrating the client journey between a website, and just want to briefly throw this up here of how this would work is someone visiting you on any, social property or anything that's out there, following that to your website, really looking at other articles. Maybe they feel an affinity with the content you're producing and they actually subscribe or sign up. Now they can be passed over into marketing automation and you could start providing personalized and dynamic content. So what that might look like is they receive a follow-up email. They look at it on their mobile device. Through email or another communication stream, they could share it, that article on network on social media. You can also follow up if you have either in-person or webinar events that are around that topic. You can send them an invite specifically because they've engaged with that content previously. And over time, as they show more interest, your business development can start engaging with someone that they think might convert to a prospect. So that's just really one example of how that might look between the two properties. As mentioned previously, content strategies. So, those firms that are spending a lot on content strategy and really putting a lot of effort and dollars behind that, how you can get your value out of that is really looking at automating that content strategy. Not only can you designate the type of content a prospect or client will receive, you can stay top of mind by continually providing valuable and targeted content. As we mentioned before, really, if you're spending a lot of money on your content, if your lawyers are spending time on your content, if you're spending time on your content, you need to make sure that A, it's valuable, and then B, you're getting the most out of it. So being able to automate that across channels, being able to put that in nurture tracks where people can receive it, not just in a one and done. So if they show interest in another piece of content that's similar, you can automatically provide that. It's pretty powerful, and you can get the value out of your content that you want. So the role of content, really maximizing the ROI of your content and fueling your content engine, automating the creation and curation of your content. So if you see that there's certain pieces of your content that are resonating, you can start spending more money or help develop that content, and you have the metrics and the steam behind that to really do that. Contextualizing content across channels, what I mentioned before, is making sure there's a consistent message from your website to your emails to your SMS, really contextualizing that content for where they're at, and aligning that content along those client journeys. So those are pretty powerful ways to do that. And as I mentioned before, really looking at what works. So, not only is it how do you get the most valuable, amount out of that content, if it's not working, how do we adjust? How do we rapidly make that change? So, a high value slot may not be taking up space on your site, or may not be taking up space in your newsletters or alert communications when it's not really resonating with individuals. So as mentioned before, I wanted to give some very specific examples of how marketing automation can be used for law firms. So the first one, I think, is it's a valuable component, automating events. So legal industry, you guys spend a lot of money on events, and they're really powerful from a conversion perspective. So marketing automation allows you to automate, personalize, and measure event management. So it really, if you're using a webinar tool, some of them can do some of that, but marketing automation can be powerful both before and after the event, in addition to those during event, and it works for in-person as well as everything else. So instead of doing a lot of one and done type communications, you can really schedule out your event management throughout the entire event. So the example that I have here initially is the pre-event. So prior to the event, sending invitations and form sign up, providing event landing pages and multi-channel reminders. So initially, if the event is going to be for multiple practice areas or multiple topics, you can do a segmentation. You can also look at doing geographic different content based on where they are geographically. Practice, attorney, interest, or combination. So if they're going to visit or they're the primary client of a certain attorney, you can customize those communications for, based on that attorney. So in this example, I just pulled a very simple one. So practice A and practice B, the event invitation looks very different for those two practices. But they're both going to go to the same event landing page, but it is personalized based on their interest. And then once they've registered for the event, they'll receive email reminders. They can also receive SMS reminders from the tool. And there's an event posting on social. So event reminders, just follow up on social. During the event, so that's one specific example. During the event, you can also do social updates. So you can schedule social updates during the event and look really cool, and you don't have to step away and do anything. You can also, gather those that are looking for appointment setting, and that can be something that's done out of the tool itself. You can upload and capture attendees through the tool. There's actually, based on the tool that you go after, there's Eventbrite has some plugins. There's some other event, registration. So, like you go to an event and you scan, there's some automated follow-up plugins for certain event tools that go into marketing automation platforms that you can do things on the spot. After the event, so once you have all of the people that have attended, you can do post-event follow-up, measure and track event ROI. So actually look at those leads from the event that converted over time. And you can start to create attendees profiles and design nurture and follow-up campaigns. So if you gather any information about them on site, or if they've attended a portion of an event that may be of a certain interest, you can start putting them into nurture campaigns that really resonate with them, whether it's practice area, industry, or thought leadership for that particular lawyer. You can really start to have a very robust event management process in place. Manage newsletters and subscriptions. So I think this tends to be the bane of a lot of people's existence, just dealing with a lot of desperate lists, and people are signing up on different places on your newsletter. You're getting lawyers sending you people from their Outlook. You have separate manual lists that you're trying to manage. Really, marketing automation, and you can tie this with your website or however you want to do it, can help you manage subscriptions. So where and how prospects and clients want to receive those communications, you can start to have that way to start collecting that information and using it to actually tailor your communications. So if you craft newsletters, alerts, ongoing communications based on what people have told you that they want, they've both opted in and they've told you something, so they'll be more likely to remain on your mailing list even if they aren't a client, or they'll be more likely to engage with you because that content is tailored for what they're really interested in. So examples of the subscription and ongoing communications, the capability to set up a subscription center within the tools. So you can do data collection, have communication preferences, also determine interests. All those things can be done. They can be as simple as an opt-in, but it can also start to be more complex and add those feature sets on that. Customizing communications, so really having preference-based communications with targeted content. And then having an ongoing communication stream. So if they're signing up for communications over time, I want to receive a communication or your alerts every week or every month, you can start to tailor your newsletters, alerts, or blogs for really what they're looking to sign up with. And those are some consistent communications that you're sending all the time. This just allows you to automate the process, so you're not having to manually pull a list every time you want to send a newsletter. So you already have your list built in based on their preferences, and everything is automated for when you're ready to send that on a monthly basis. Really, an example of how subscription center in this case would work is through, say, a web visit. They could have come through any channel there. They send a subscription request, and you can do an automated welcome letter. So thank you for signing up. These are the communication preferences you've aligned with. And then now you can send a targeted newsletter. So you can build a wireframe with customized content within the newsletter based on what they're what they're interested in. And I know a lot of people say we don't have that much content to do customized content, but it's an option. You know, you can start off with one piece of content that might be tailored to a practice area that they're interested in as their banner content, and really work from there. You know, and if you have multiple pieces of content within a newsletter, if they've engaged with content A, you can send a targeted alert based on an engagement with your original newsletter. If they engage with content B, you can send target alert 2, which is a different communication based on that engagement. Now that seems very simple, but I know sometimes in the operational piece of it, it can be really complex. But so it starts to layer on what I talked about, where you're doing targeted communications that are really aligned on people's interests. And it's a very simple way to do it, but this is kind of the first step in building a more complex life cycle approach. Re-engaging prospects and clients. So, you know, really a core thing that I mentioned before is nurture. Having ongoing communications, keeping your firm top of mind, is something that can be done on an automated basis. So it's not something you have to continually say, well, you know, we haven't reached out to this list of people in quite a while, so let's send them something, you know, let's dig up something out of the vault and send it to them just to see if we can get some interest there. Instead, let's build those as part of their entire life cycle. So we expect people to engage with us and not follow up, or to have some work or have a case or something right now, but maybe in 6 months, not so much. So really, re-engagement campaigns that can align with that is a meeting or communication follow-up. So if you've met with somebody in person and, you know, they haven't called you back, or you haven't heard from them in 6 weeks, you can say, okay, so let's send an automated follow-up response to that. No communication, it automatically gets sent. It's just something that's in the back end. Somebody doesn't have to manually do it. You can check in after a lack of response. So if you've sent a proposal and there's no response after a certain amount of time, you can have that automated. Providing relevant content based on their particular interests or issues. So if they've signed up with you once and they haven't engaged with you in a long time, just sending them, you know, like, are you still interested in this content, or you know, just continuing to engage with them provides, you know, at least some type of communication there, whereas there would typically be a black hole. And have them provide relevant information via surveys. So, you know, I think a lot of times people over abuse surveys, but they can be a fairly great tool when it comes to just understanding why someone may not have done business with you, or you know, what they might be interested in looking in the future. So sometimes it never hurts to ask, but you know, the re-engagement campaign that I have as an example here is, as I mentioned before, if someone has a in-person meeting, maybe you wait a couple days and there's a wait step in there. If this is aligned with your CRM system, you can have this automated where there's a meeting follow-up email that goes out. And then if they've engaged with that, maybe they call back. So you got them engaged just from sending a follow-up email. And if there's no response, you know, again, this could be another path in the line. You send a survey or subscription request. So, you know, why were you unhappy with the proposal, or, you know, why did you go with someone else? Or you can send them a subscription request. Maybe you're not interested at this time, but we'd love to keep in touch with you and send you more content that you might be interested in. And again, you can target that to what they want. So you can have multiple emails that go out just based on what they've responded in their survey, or if they responded to your subscription request. Promoting your lawyers. So obviously lawyers are your biggest asset, especially when you look at content. Marketing automation allows you to have multi-channel content that promotes your lawyers as thought leaders, and they can represent your firm with all of the information that they put out there. So it improves your reputation and your ability to promote within the law community. So providing cross-channel thought leadership, I think this is a core example of how you can use marketing automation. So if you want to provide a cross-channel thought leadership across email, social, blogs, or website, maybe as I mentioned before, somebody's gone to a web page to visit a lawyer page and they do a subscription request. If you've got tagging on your page, you can actually, once they have that subscription request, you can actually see where they were on your website, and you can, maybe they didn't necessarily sign up for content from that lawyer, but you know that they visited the lawyer, so you can email with thought leadership from that lawyer, or if your subscription center does that specific function, you can email with thought leadership that they've selected from that lawyer. And if they go to a landing page, that landing page can provide other thought leadership, can also provide a link to a blog. It can provide a follow-up email once it's downloaded. So we've seen that you downloaded this content. Is there any questions? Are you interested in talking to a lawyer? A follow-up there, or even having the capability to do a social like. So really, you can see that kind of goes across all of your channels that you have functioning there, and you can do that through automation and marketing, your marketing automation tool. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I just want to briefly touch on this before we open up for questions. So getting started with marketing automation. The things that I recommend if you are looking to start is really aligning business units, so getting a cross-section of your business together to actually talk about what it would take to instrument this. Look at requirements. Obviously, marketing is going to be the most important, but business development, your lawyers, everyone else that may have a role in this, it's good to get requirements up front, and then use those requirements as you're selecting a platform. What's most important to you, what's least important to you, and what meets your specific needs. I mean, there's many different ways to look at platforms. I mean, there's tons of different criteria that you can look at. And I think it just depends on, as you go through that scoping process, which ones are the most important, which ones are the least important, and how you stack rank that. So just a few ones that you can throw out there as you're talking, CRM integration, does it natively integrate with your CRM? What's your business model, and does it work for your business model? The size of your business, how big your contact list and databases. That is often how pricing is done on most marketing automation tools. So that can have an impact on the cost of the tool and how you use it. Basic platform use, what are the capabilities that you want to do within the platform? Are you looking for basic automation capabilities, or are you looking for higher level use? Are you looking for scoring, multi-integration with different, you can integrate a ton of different tools. I talked about event management tools or webinar tools that can integrate. So you can start to layer that on, but really look at the tools roadmap, and if they provide that, if that's something that is important to you. Transactional capabilities, not a ton of you are going to need that, but sometimes that's a consideration. And then cross-channel capabilities, so does it integrate with your CMS platform? Does it integrate with other platforms that you're interested in? Does it have an app community? That's important for some people. Vertical understanding of features. So, there are certain tools within the legal space that they have invested a ton in. I'm not going to mention anybody here, but they've invested a ton in putting together an approach around legal, and they have templates, and they make it a little bit easier to work within the tool, just understanding the legal space. So there's those that may potentially be a consideration. And then global scale, does it allow you to scale from just a small, just maybe one unit that's using it, if you want to use multi-language, if you want to use multiple groups within the firm that have the capability to use it, that's all a consideration as you look at the scalability of the tool. Again, communicating the benefits. So obviously, huge part of any new tool in your tool stack, and how you can go towards, pitching, getting the tool within your ecosystem. So marketing automation, I think these are some of the primary ones we've talked about in general, but cost savings, return on marketing ROI, improvements in your roadmap, faster time to market, being able to have your life cycle and communications already in progress and not having to do complete rescale of communications every time you do them. Expanded capabilities, so doing things that you couldn't do before. Improve customer experience because you're doing one-to-one communications, whereas you're not doing kind of spray and pray approach. Better marketing investment, so really looking at getting more out of your marketing investment and reporting and response capabilities. So being able to say where the money has gone and how effective it is. Expected cost, anybody, I will tell you, as you're looking at platforms, these tend to be the common costs that pop up. So the platform itself, implementation costs, no wonderful platform purveyor is going to tell you to go off and implement the platform on your own. So you can expect to either, hire somebody that has experience with the platform, have that vendor provide implementation, or have a third party provide implementation. So that's staffing and agency support as well. Training of those that will be using the tool is always a consideration. IT support and alignment of roadmaps. So if IT is involved in your marketing stack, and they will be as you look at, domains and SFTPs and some of the other things that are involved, they will have to be in support of that roadmap, and you'll have to be aligned with them. And then features, if you're really looking for some of the high-level features that are with the tool, I would say that you're going to have time and manpower and, sit down and actually craft that strategy. So one of the things that I think a lot of people do is they walk into marketing automation and they do a email-to-email tool. So if you're going to purchase a marketing automation tool and you're using it as an email service provider tool, then it's really wasted. So taking the time and energy that it takes to make sure that you're using the tool in the right way is very important. And overall, for planning your roadmap, so looking at bringing the tool in-house, or if you already have the tool today, some of the things that if you haven't done, you could step back and do. If you're looking to implement it from scratch, these are some of the things. So strategy and discovery, really looking at what your customer experience strategy is, understanding your overall goals for what you'd like to implement, and what your roadmap and planning is for that. The assessment of what you've done to date, what's working, what's not working, what's going to get brought over into the tool as is, and what needs some adjustments. The overall planning and blueprint. So, roadmap is very important. Don't just get a marketing automation tool and make it your email tool. Implementing your environment. So this is all the coordination, either as far as when you implement the tool, when you work with IT, so installation of the platform, deployment, IP warming, spam checkers, all that fun stuff. Most of you that have a tool already have that in process, or if you don't, that should be part of your overall roadmap. Setup of campaigns, so really setting up what those campaigns look like initially. The email components, the multi-channel components, if you're going to have a preference center, if not, at least an opt-out, opt-in, what your reporting is set up, and what components of personalization you want to bring into that initially. And over time, you can look at testing, monitoring, A/B and multivariate testing, creating more reports, tracking KPIs, and really looking at for what's working, what's not working, and eventually looking at advancing maturity. So looking at a more complex CX, doing multi-channel, doing personalization, doing providing content based on interest and some of that advanced level activity, actually leveraging personas within your communications. So trying to anticipate what someone wants before they want it or before they tell you. Looking at developing a high-level subscription center where people can tell you their interests. And then data management. So marketing automation, which we didn't touch on in great detail, also allows you to maintain and cleanse your data through automated processes as well. So instead of having all these separate lists that you're working with, being able to bring them in and cleanse them, purge out information that's no longer relevant, contacts that are no longer relevant. There's ways to do that within the system. So that's kind of an around the world journey. I apologize for the silence at the beginning of the call, but hopefully we have a few minutes for questions. Drishti, do we have any questions?
Thank you so much for that insight, Caroline. It looks like we have a few questions. The first one is, what is the biggest challenge with implementing a marketing automation tool?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for most people is they don't take enough time upfront to plan for what they'd like to do. So as I mentioned before, really looking at what you want to do with the tool, what your CX is, and not doing a implementation of an email tool is very important. So taking the time and energy to decide what you want to do and how you want to set it up so you can start to get the benefits of marketing automation over time. I think that's very important.
The next one is, what is the typical time frame to get started and the time before implementing more complex programs like the ones shown?
Yeah, so I think that depends. There's some fluctuation over time. I mean, you can get started with marketing automation fairly quickly. I think you can probably be, barring the process of going through vendor selection, from purchase to installation, getting up and running, you can do that in 3 to 4 weeks. I think the more important, or like I said, it's very important that you make sure that you plan correctly. You can have the tool up and running, but really, what do you want to do with it? And I think, so for the more complex programs, I think those are built over time. Complex programs can be up and running in 5 to 6 weeks. But again, it takes some planning and thought behind how you want to do that.
Thank you so much for your answers, Caroline. There are a few more questions, but we will have to get back to them after the webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to connecting with you again. The recording for today's webinar will be available on our website within the next 3 business days. We will also be sharing the webcast URL with all the attendees via email. Please feel free to reach out to us at contact@edynamic.net with any questions you may have. Thank you once again and have a great day.
Thank you all.